All right. Happy Easter, everyone. That's right, happy Easter. On this Christmas Eve, we hold the Paschal mystery of Easter in our hearts as well. It's actually pretty similar to how we never really celebrate Good Friday without knowing that Easter is right around the corner. It's all part of the same, story of salvation. It's all connected in Christ, his birth and his death, part of the same book. And one would be quite a disappointment, or at least very confusing, without the other. Has anyone here ever tried reading a book from the middle with no context as to how the story started or who the characters were? That's got to be frustrating. And I'm sure many of us here have fallen in love with a series that, for whatever reason, was never completed. So you end up with this life-changing story with no ending. That would be Christmas if we didn't also have Easter. And for the record, Easter is not literally the end of everything, but it is the conclusion of Christ's saving action. And we need to keep this all in mind because Jesus Christ is a person. There are many inaccurate ways to think about God, but one critical truth that you've got to wrap your head around is he is a person. He shares in our humanity, our personhood. And a person is an integrated whole. A person, like a story, has a beginning and an end. And you will never really know a person by merely acknowledging the parts that you like. A person is a whole. It's their job, their interests, their family, their body, their soul. It all comes together to form an individual. Remember that when you think of Christ. Christ at Christmas is the same as Christ at Easter. It's true, then he will be a little older. There are some sad, painful things that we don't need to worry about here in December, but it's still him. It is still the Christ we celebrate today. As American Christians, this is a major thing that we collectively struggle with in our faith, seeing Christ in his wholeness, as if seeing him for the very first time. Because the U.S. is a place where Christ is a part of our culture. I admit it very much could be worse, but he's passively a part of our culture. He's in the background. We involve him in shallow, simple ways. And as a result, we think of him in partial, incomplete ways. He's just kind of there. He's just regular enough for us to consider him an ordinary sight. It's a little bit like your favorite family photo that you keep on the bookshelf in the hallway. Because you pass by it many times a day, every day, you very rarely actually look at it. But every so often, you do look at it, like with eyes wide open. And this feeling of joy washes over you, and you're like, yeah, that was a great day. And you remember why you have that picture in your house in the first place. If you can do that with Jesus, that is the sort of thing that will change your life forever. I'm talking about seeing Christ with eyes wide open for the amazing, incredible gift that he is. Good old G.K. Chesterton, he's actually the one who said it the best. He said, the idea that a man can talk to God is like saying that a squirrel can talk to a mountain. First, you have to believe that talking mountains exist in the first place. But then, you got to figure out how a squirrel would ever learn that language. And even then, why on earth would a mountain care at all about what a squirrel has to say? That is a pretty accurate illustration for the immense difference between mortals and gods. Any real interaction between the two should be impossible several times over. But that's what makes Christ so unique. For all of the elements of religion that you find anywhere, for all of the things that we may have borrowed or ripped off from others throughout history, the reality of Christ's nature is totally unique. Totally unique. God, the maker of heaven and earth, fully shares in our humanity, our specific mortal reality in the person of Jesus Christ. That is like a mountain chatting with a squirrel. We're talking about the Alpha and the Omega of the entire universe, and he knows how much you care about the Packers. It's this two-way relationship with God. That is what our entire faith is shaped around, with Easter and Christmas being the bookends. Christmas is when we welcome Jesus among us. Easter, when he gives his life for us. All of this is possible because Christ is a person. Out of love, he shares in our humanity fully and completely. That is the real amazing thing about him, that he loves us that much. The amazing part of the gospel, it's not the miracles. It's not the morality lessons. It's not even the defeat of death. Doctors defeat death all the time. The amazing part of the gospel is that he cares about us in the first place. He loves and cares for us beyond our ability to understand. That should never hit your ear as something boring or old-fashioned. Because this world has proven time and again that the powerful do not particularly care about the weak. This world has proven throughout history that the bigger you are, the less you really care about anyone besides yourself. And then along comes Jesus, who reveals to us that the true nature of creation is in fact the complete opposite. God is all-powerful. He is the maker of heaven and earth. He is the king of the universe. And yet he has the humility to share in our nature that we might understand how much he loves us, that we might love him in return, and that we might know who we are in his eyes. I'll admit I'm a little skeptical about this whole business with mountains and squirrels. That sounds unbelievable and a little bit silly. But we absolutely can talk to God. That is not unbelievable or silly, and we know it's true because God talks back. And some of the most important things he's had to say are contained in the books that we call the Gospels. Seriously, one of these days, read them. Read them as if you've never heard of them before. You will find those texts remarkably different from anything else the world is trying to sell you. Let the awe and the mystery of Christ's new and everlasting covenant wash over you. If you are brave enough and open enough to let that happen, I promise you this, your life will never be the same again. Merry Christmas to you all. And while I'm at it, Happy Easter.